Right, picture this. Barry, bloke down the pub, salt of the earth, bit of a lad, you know the type. Always the life of the party, always up for a laugh, and never one to shy away from a cheeky pint or three. 3 pints deep, scrolling through Facebook, when bang! A message pops up. His eyes widen, curiosity peaked. He leans in closer, squinting at the screen.
Nice pics, Barry, it reads. And Barry, being Barry, thinks, cool Brenda from accounts fancies me after all. His heart skips a beat and a cheeky grin spreads across his face.
Little did he know he was about to stumble into a digital nightmare dressed in a feather boa and fishnet stockings. The kind of nightmare that starts with a flirty message and ends with a gut-wrenching realization. See, Barry had fallen prey to the insidious world of sextortion, where pixels and pressure collide in a perfect storm of mortification and malice. It's a dark corner of the internet where trust is a currency and deceit is the game. Now, Barry wasn't daft, but he wasn't exactly Sherlock Holmes either. He had a good head on his shoulders, but sometimes the heart overrules the head, especially after a few pints. He'd sent a few cheeky snaps to what he thought was a fetching lass from Tinder. A bit of harmless fun, he reckoned. After all, what could go wrong with a bit of digital flirtation? Turns out it was less fetching lass and more faceless fiend hiding behind a fake profile. A master of manipulation, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They had Barry's pride in their grubby little mitts, ready to squeeze him dry. Every message, every photo, a weapon in their arsenal aimed straight at Barry's sense of security and self-worth. And so, Barry's night at the pub turned into a lesson in digital caution. A reminder that in the world of pixels and profiles, not everything is as it seems. The demands came swift and sharp, like a slap in the face with a wet kipper. It was unexpected, jarring, and left Barry reeling from the shock. He had never imagined that something like this could happen to him.
500 quid, Barry, or your Auntie Jean's knitting circle gets a private viewing of your, shall we say, more intimate moments. The message was clear, and the threat was real. Barry's heart pounded as he read the words over and over again, hoping it was some kind of sick joke.
Panic set in. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, each more terrifying than the last. What if they really did it? What if everyone found out? The fear was paralyzing. Barry's face went whiter than a snowman in a blizzard. He felt the blood drain from his face as the reality of the situation sank in. This was no joke, this was a nightmare. He'd rather wrestle a badger wearing a marmalade sandwich as a hat than have his mum find out about his online antics. The thought of his family knowing was unbearable. He could already imagine the disappointment in their eyes. The thing about sextortion, see, is it plays on your deepest fears and insecurities. It preys on the parts of you that you try to keep hidden, the secrets you hope no one ever discovers. It's a game of emotional blackmail where the stakes are higher than a giraffe's eyebrows. The pressure is immense, and the fear of exposure is overwhelming. It's a cruel game, and the victims are often left feeling helpless. These predators, they're like digital puppet masters, pulling on the strings of shame and fear, making you dance to their twisted tune. They know exactly how to manipulate you, how to make you feel like you have no choice but to comply. It's a dark and twisted form of control, and breaking free from it can feel impossible. Barry did what any self-respecting bloke in his predicament would do. He panicked. He paced. He muttered to himself, trying to make sense of the chaos that had suddenly engulfed his life. His heart raced, pounding like a drum in his chest. He considered investing in a balaclava and moving to a remote island populated entirely by penguins. The thought of escaping to a place where no one knew him, where he could start afresh, was tempting. But deep down he knew it was just a fantasy, a fleeting escape from reality. His mind raced, a runaway train of what-ifs and oh gods. What if someone found out? What if his life was ruined forever? The possibilities were endless and terrifying. He felt like he was drowning in a sea of his own thoughts, unable to find a lifeline.
He felt trapped, ensnared in a web spun from his own digital indiscretions. Every click, every message, every photo felt like a thread tightening around him, pulling him deeper into a pit of despair. The internet, once a source of endless possibilities, now felt like a prison.
The worst part? He felt utterly alone. Who could he tell? Who would understand the depth of his fear and shame? The isolation was suffocating, a heavy blanket that he couldn't shake off. His mates down the pub would never let him live it down. They'd laugh, they'd joke, but they'd never truly understand. The thought of their teasing made his stomach churn. His mum would probably knit him into a straitjacket. She'd worry, she'd fuss, and she'd never let him out of her sight. The thought of her concern was almost as unbearable as the situation itself. The weight of his secret threatened to crush him like a ton of bricks. It was a burden he wasn't sure he could carry much longer. Every day felt like a battle, a struggle to keep his head above water. The pressure was relentless, and he didn't know how much more he could take. Here's the thing about shame. It thrives in the darkness. The longer Barry kept his secret bottled up, the more it festered and grew, twisting his insides like a pretzel. He was a bloke possessed, haunted by the thought of his pixelated indiscretions being splashed across the internet like a Jackson Pollock painting gone wrong.
Barry's story isn't unique, you see. Sextortion preys on the vulnerable, the lonely, the ones looking for connection in all the wrong places. It's a global epidemic, a dark underbelly of the digital age.
Section 5, The Predator's Playbook, Tactics of Terror.
These digital bottom feeders, they're masters of manipulation. They know which buttons to push, which levers to pull to get what they want. They'll use flattery, fake promises, even threats of violence, anything to gain your trust, and then exploit it for their own twisted gain.
They prey on your empathy, your desire to please, your fear of judgment. They'll weave a web of lies so convincing you'll question your own sanity. But remember this, my friend. They need you to be silent. They thrive on your shame. Don't give them the satisfaction. Section 6, Out of the Shadows, A Glimmer of Hope. Now, I'm not gonna lie, escaping Sextortion's clutches can feel like trying to outrun a cheetah on a unicycle. But there is hope, my friend, there's always hope.
The first step, break the silence. Talk to someone you trust, a friend, a family member, a therapist, anyone who'll listen without judgment. Because trust me, sharing your burden will lighten the load.
Section 7, Reclaiming your narrative, finding your voice. Remember, you are not alone. You are not defined by the actions of someone who sought to exploit you. This is not your fault.
It's time to reclaim your narrative, to find your voice, and to shout from the rooftops, "I will not be controlled by fear." Reporting the incident to the authorities might feel daunting, but it's crucial. These digital delinquents need to be held accountable for their actions. Let's show them that we're not afraid to fight back.
Section 8, Sextortion's Grip, the broader impact. Sextortion's reach extends far beyond the individual. It impacts families, communities, and society as a whole. It erodes trust, breeds fear, and perpetuates a culture of silence and shame.
We need to shine a light on this issue, to drag it out from the shadows and expose it for what it is, a cowardly act of manipulation and abuse. Education, awareness, and open dialogue are our most potent weapons.
Section 9, Staying Safe in the Digital Age. A call to action. The digital world can be a dangerous playground, my friend, but it doesn't have to be. By arming ourselves with knowledge, vigilance, and a healthy dose of skepticism, we can navigate this digital landscape safely and confidently. Be mindful of what you share online. Be wary of strangers bearing gifts, especially pixelated ones. And remember, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Let's work together to create a digital world where everyone feels safe, respected, and empowered. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, you're never alone.